here at Guaranto Academy's Masterclass, Roles of Leaders in DevOps. Let me introduce our speaker, the distinguished and industry expert, the brilliant Dr. Koti. He has an extensive knowledge and expertise in this field, and he will help you enhance your leadership skills in DevOps through this insightful session. I would like to request Dr. Cody to take it forward.
Thank you, Marianne, and very pleasant evening, everybody. And I hope you can hear my voice well and also can see my screen.
Yes, we can, sir.
Perfect. And also, it would be great if we can be on cameras, right? We're all preaching a lot of things in the Agile world, but face-to-face connection is missing. We're all speaking in a different virtual world. So, until unless there is a compelling reason not to be on camera, that's fair enough. If we can be, that would be awesome. Okay, so I'm Dr. Koti, Executive Director at Guaranto Academy, especially for Singapore and Malaysia. I'm based out of India at the moment, based out of Hyderabad in India. So today I'm going to talk about DevOps for leaders, or the role of leadership team in the DevOps. So of late, there is a lot of emphasis on DevOps and also the SRE, especially in the banking and financial sector. The BFSA domain is more focused on the more matured engineering practices. So DevOps becomes the base, and also there is a bit of confusion to the people in terms of what is Agile, what is DevOps, and especially in the DevOps area, what is that leader should be doing, how much hands-on we need to be, how it makes sense. These are some kind of questions to the leadership team especially. So today I'm trying to attempt to give some ideas on that, what a leader should do in the organization. How do you understand this piece? That is attempt. So we have roughly about another 50 minutes or so, 50. And I will be covering what I would like to cover in another 40 minutes or so. We can keep about 10 minutes for any questions and answers towards the end, right? So that's how the flow is going to be. So what is DevOps? And let us keep it interactive also, no problem. If anybody wanted to comment anything, even ask questions on the fly, you need not to wait for the end. So anybody would like to share your point of view on what is DevOps? And if you look at this picture, you might be getting some story around that as well, right? So anybody want to talk about what is DevOps? You can speak if you know what is DevOps. Does not matter what is your role at the moment. Whatever you know about DevOps, feel free to add. A single word, single statement, anything is fine. What is DevOps?
Combination of development and operations.
Combination of development and operations. Awesome. It is very crisp and to the point on what is DevOps. Good. Any other point of view? Anybody else? Yes. Marianne, what is DevOps as for you? Yes. You're smiling. What is DevOps as for you? You can tell whatever, right?
It's related, sir, to CI/CD.
Oh, CI/CD. One more. Any more person want to try? What is DevOps? Come on, a lot of people, you must know something about DevOps, right? You're not joining for first time, or we are not hearing for first time in the life. And don't hesitate to say whether right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. I'll give few more seconds if any more response. You can put on the chart if you don't want to speak.
Yeah,
Yes.
I missed in between. So DevOps background, right? So it is to like smoothen the activity after development, production deployment, support, maintenance. So earlier days, they both the things working in like separately, isolated way. So to avoid the gaps in between, to make the process seamless from development to production deployment and support and maintenance. This is the practice DevOps. Yeah.
Excellent. Well said. That's a good description about DevOps in a nutshell. What happens from development to production and beyond that maintenance kind of. That is also a good point of view. Now, what you get in the last few minutes when I ask about what is DevOps, what is coming, there are three different perspectives at least we heard. And if everybody else also talk, no two people will tell the same thing. That is the bottom line. Means everybody is having their own meanings of DevOps. It is like the story of this 6 blind men standing around the elephant. If you take them to the elephant and ask what is X, what is Y, everybody says something as they like, not the reality by itself. If you ask a person by asking what is that, showing the tail of the elephant, somebody say tail, somebody may say rope, somebody may say snake. Actually, what is DevOps? Nobody knows. Even they know something, but that may not be real. So it's with all due respect, whatever you said is fine. You're all correct in a way, but then together people is missing to understand this real essence of DevOps and what it means as a commonality. People do whatever they like, and then it is not aligning together. And I also see a combination of software development and operations. That's good. And this is what exactly people say. Whatever they feel is DevOps. Whatever they do is DevOps. Somebody is doing continuous integration. They feel like it is DevOps. Somebody also do continuous deployment. They will feel CA plus CD. Somebody else also do continuous delivery. Somebody do continuous operations, continuous maintenance, continuous testing, continuous requirement exploration. There are multiple continuous things. So the more maturity comes when everybody does everything end-to-end orchestration. It is not about development. It is not about testing. It is not about operations. It is not about just requirement exploration. If you understand really the value stream in any organization, how the value is flowing from end to end, who is asking for the value? It is customer. And who is getting the benefit from that value creation? Customer. So every value stream start with customer, end with customer. Now, whatever you do from the time the requirement so-called freezing, understanding the needs of the customer, till that is being delivered to the customer hands, and of course, taking the feedback again, that loop will be restarted. If you can really do a seamless process from that end-to-end point of view, that is a DevOps. Now, in that process, not just development and operations comes from all point of view, from beginning to the end. Development of the value creation is one aspect. Just everything revolves around operations. And that's where this is so popular. And of course, people talk about so many in-between words as well: DevSecOps, DevHumanApp, DevSec, DataOps, different kind of terminology also people use based on how are you making the interactions within the DevOps and the value stream pipeline. This is a very high level understanding. Now, as a leader, again, you must have a lot of clarity on that as well. So I was trying to explain end-to-end orchestration point of view. I'm not sure if you guys have seen some thought leaders in industry, especially Gene Kim's, what you see on the screen. There are more great people, Jane Willis and Jez Zambal. There are a lot of great thought leaders in industry contributed to DevOps. And maybe let's hear directly from their voice what is DevOps as per them. Like whatever you are talking about a few minutes back, let us hear from the leaders what they are saying.
All companies are technology companies these days.
Airline companies are saying that they view themselves as software companies with wings.
We haven't seen a disruption like this probably in 30, 40 years. probably all the way back to the 1980s when manufacturing was being disrupted by the application of the lean principles.
So the main drivers for adopting DevOps and lean principles are, I think, firstly, the rapid pace of change in the ecosystem that we're seeing.
The same principles that revolutionized manufacturing are the same principles that we can use in the work that we do.
We need to build companies that can adapt rapidly to changing situations and changing customer demands.
Now more than ever, it's becoming increasingly urgent for almost every organization to be adopting DevOps principles and patterns.
Typically, we've thought of increasing throughput and stability is a zero-sum game, the idea that by going faster, we're going to break things. We've shown that high performers achieve high levels of both throughput and stability. It's not a zero-sum game. We're changing the game. And this is what happened in manufacturing, in the lean movement. Toyota didn't win by building shitty cars more cheaply. They won by building better, higher quality cars more cheaply and faster than the competition.
During the quality revolution of the 1980s, there was something called the Taguchi method. And the Taguchi method was all about, first, to drive quality, you first want to have a repeatable process, a fully repeatable process. And so then step by step, day by day, you're able to get better and better and better. And that's the heart of the Taguchi method. It's the heart of DevOps.
It was a paradigm shift, and that's what we're seeing now with DevOps and Lean. We can move faster and create high quality systems and provide better stability and resilience in the services we're building. And obviously, why wouldn't you want that?
Okay, so I hope you got some more clarity on what is DevOps from those thought leaders. So basically, if you observe all these great thought leaders who are doing exceptionally well in this space of DevOps, those are all great authors of something like DevOps Handbook and the Phoenix Project Simulation, and also the Clean Code, the Continuous Integration, Continuous Delivery. These are the great books written by these people, especially Jez Humble and Jenkins. They have contributed a lot into the industry. Now, they never talk about a lot of that tools and techniques and technologies. What they're trying to say, it's all about giving an exceptional experience to the customer with a predefined quality. Now, these are all possible when you bring some engineering excellence by default. So automation, engineering excellence is part of the game. But what is most important is how you are making your customers happy from end-to-end point of view with that quality keeping in the mind is what, in a nutshell, what they're trying to say from this particular aspect of DevOps. Now, if you look at Agile and DevOps again, I am sure most of you know. In principle, Agile is all about doing some time-boxed based iterative and incremental delivery of value. And then they're trying to get feedback faster and try to improve the customer satisfaction. Now, if you look at the DevOps piece again, it is a kind of connecting the dots from the development and operations point of view with a better communication, collaboration between those two aspects of development and operation from end to end. If you look at further here, what it says, breaking the silos. How do you handshake with these people, development from operations point of view? If you look at this, the middle portion here, the communication, collaboration, and integration. This is what the crux of DevOps is all about. So how do you communicate within those departments? How do you collaborate to bring that proactive quality? How do you integrate when multiple teams and multiple people are working together for a common purpose? The more if you can do this, the better for a seamless flow. I think Ravi was talking about it is a seamless end-to-end value from the development to the production and maintenance kind of thing. That is possible when you do this integration well by collaborating with the people and by communicating. And also there is a powerful saying by Jenkins in his DevOps handbook as well. There are 3 ways of being DevOps. I will be showing you another small snippet of that towards the end somewhere. You will also understand what is the essence of DevOps. How do you systematically thinking about it by communicating, collaborating, and integrating? And also, how do you take the feedback more frequently to improve the system on a continuous basis? So if you look at this picture, we all know so-called legacy and waterfall, and then Agile is being moved into some kind of iterative and incremental, bringing that 4 aspect of the game of value to small time boxes. And DevOps is further refined to the smallest possible increments. There is not much difference about Agile and DevOps. The more engineering practices you can use, the cycle of this so-called from coding to the deployment will be reduced. It will be shrunken. Instead of going a weekly builds and weekly kind of check-ins and everything, it will come to hourly kind of day by day. The cycle of this repetitive process will be increasing with the help of this kind of latest and greatest automation and tools and techniques into the DevOps pipeline. So ultimately, if you look at it from waterfall to DevOps, we are shrinking the timelines to go to market, which is one of the greater asset to the customer, speed to market, right? This is what, as a leader, you need to understand when it comes to the support you can extend to the people. How do you make this time to market more obviously adequate to the customer needs? If you can help people to get there, nothing like it. That's what your job, to lead by example, to support and to create a system where people can operate in this kind of environment. Because we're talking about what is DevOps means for leadership team and what is your role in the game of this value creation with more speed to market. The support it requires to the people, the environment you need to create is to reduce the very shortest possible timelines for that. So when people started further penetration of this, they originally started with something called this comms approach. And this comms, if you look at it, culture, automation, measurement, and sharing. So people, when they're believing in about doing a seamless experience to the customer, first of all, we need to create the mindset to the people. This mindset is a cultural thing, right? It will not happen overnight, or people will not be able to do those things as we expect. So how do you create, first of all, the culture in a way where they can really understand what is needed in the interest of customer needs? And then that culture also makes people to think a shared responsibility of the quality of the work what we do. It is a collective alignment towards the common aim of the system. That cultural aspect is what first element of the DevOps, what people talk about it. Then automation, this is one of the most important thing where your pipeline is created. So culture is one thing for an alignment and common understanding. Automation is about DevOps pipeline automation. It is not about your test automation, by the way. Some people confuse with test automation, which is part of your releasability, versus automating the pipeline itself. What we are talking here is the testability, not, but the DevOps pipeline automation. How rigid your DevOps pipeline is all about, how much you are able to orchestrate the end-to-end value. And then how do you measure the telemetry from the production system, the metrics, how it is going to help. Then sharing. Sharing is all about how you are going to make sure that you are sharing your stuff across the departments, across the teams, across the portfolio. And again, how do you cross-pollinate your knowledge? How do you take the feedback? How do you make sure that you are not repeating the mistakes? That's a collective scaling and cross-pollination is all about. If you're not sharing, people are going to reinvent the wheel, and the sharing will come automated way from feedback loops, what we create in the DevOps. So again, from a leadership point of view, what is important is how do you create this culture? You don't really care about what automation, what tools, what techniques, how people are going to orchestrate and create the pipeline. As a leader, are you able to propagate this message or not? Are you able to create this culture or not? Are you able to support the required environment, support, license, whatnot? Strategically, are you on the right direction to support your people or not? Are you creating a psychological safety for the people to experiment or not? This is what leadership's role is all about. Sometimes people think I am not a hands-on technical guy. I never worked with the technology. What is there in it for me as a DevOps? For you, you have to create an environment. You have to create a culture. This is what important for the leadership team. Automation, the right support on the tools and techniques, in terms of the funding and budget and approvals is what important. Now, what you wanted to look at it as a leader, as a manager, as a stakeholder, how people will measure, what kind of metrics you need to, that's where you need to be very clear. So you may think that, okay, we are funding a lot of money in the organization for the DevOps creation and maturity, but then in return, what are you looking for? What are you expecting for about availability of the system, the mean time to failures and mean time between failures, mean time to recovery, a lot of those things, the number of deployments, right? So the availability of the systems, you may be careful about certain measurements. That's what you need to define and track it for. SLIs and SLOs and all of that stuff can be done. And how do you make sure that you are able to cross-pollinate this knowledge across the department? As a leader, you need to think about it. So CAM's approach is basically giving an idea of creating a culture to start penetrating in the organization. This is what initial evolution of the approach of DevOps implementation when people started thinking about it. Then slowly people thought, okay, this without lean, nothing exists in the organization, right? That's where people started talking about they adding an L. Now, as I talk about, Jazamble is one of the great thought leader in this space. He added this particular lean into the acronym of the CAMS. Just lean means about how do you reduce the wastage in the system? How do you reduce the lead times? How do you reduce the wait times? How do you make sure that we are actually not creating any fat in the system? So basically, anything and everything which is going to help to maximize the value is what lean is all about. So Jassamble added that particular stuff into the value creation, and essentially that CAMS has become calm approach. Now, if you look at the scale agile, recently they are talking about calm or approach. CALM or R means recovery. What they say is whenever something goes wrong, whenever you are going to make sure that systems are supposed to be available to the customer, you need to recover the system, business continuity plan and all of that. So their approach and their take is calm R approach. Originally, it was started like a CAMS approach. Now, in between L is added. So at the end of the day, what all these things are saying for you, ultimately, we need to create the value to the customer as soon as possible by not creating the fat in the system by applying the lean principles and practices. This is one aspect of it. Then essentially, people have started journey. If you look at these timelines, what you see on the screen, it is talking about how the journey is started on this DevOps and how things are moving over a period of time. So originally, if you all remember, there was something called Agile Manifesto that was happened all the way from 1986, a great article written by Tokochi and Nonaka on the new product development game. And slowly in 94, Jeff Sutherland and all of that guys started Scrum. And then 2001 Scrum Alliance, and then a lot of great things happened in the world of Scrum by penetrating more Agile ways of working. And slowly, again, Kanban and everything came. But then it was the time when Patrick Dubois, the great person considered to be father of DevOps, he started this movement in 2007 in Belgium, being infrastructure manager. He was seeing a lot of pain in the industry, and those pains need to be addressed. Otherwise, whatever the great things we do, it is not making sense to customers. So those days, infrastructure managers and engineers are the backbone of this kind of releasability in terms of integrations, testing, end-to-end, staging, environments, production, deployments, and these are the primary people. And there is a lot of pain between the development side of the game and the operational kind of things on these aspects. Then he started creating this movement. That's where he was talking about we need to communicate better. We need to connect better. When I say we, development and operations across the board, the communication, collaboration, the integration, he started preaching that things and he's coined that word initially DevOps days, like DOD in our Agile world. Then slowly the D has gone. The DevOps remains as a buzz in the industry. In 2008, Google has taken to the next level and a lot of conferences started happening. A lot of tools started creating in the space. And then slowly the movement has come, and Gartner also predicted in 2013 timeframes, saying by 2030, 90% of the organization globally will be more matured on the DevOps. I think the journey is going on in the same lines year after year. If you look at previous many years of this DevOps maturity state of surveys, things are getting improved and some organization gone very beyond also today. And a lot of certification bodies also came, DOI and DU and a lot of those stuff. And in between, there is a great Phoenix project by Gene Kims and all these people created as a novel, which will give a lot of knowledge to the people to get more penetration to the market. Especially this Phoenix project novel is famous for leadership teams in the DevOps area because that is narrated like a novel. Novel can be read by any people if you're passionate about the book. They narrated complete business case with a problem to solve and the various ways of behaviors in the organization to make it successful. If you take a company on their business models, revenue cycles, how do you increase the share price? How do you improve the maturity? They are written very well in this book. It is highly recommended novel kind of book for any leadership team, the Phoenix Project. And we have that simulations also we do, especially in the CDL class, Certified DevOps Leader. We also do completely 1 day focus on the Phoenix project. So this is the evolution happening, and this is a continuous journey from 2007 when the Patrick DeBois started this journey of DevOps. Now this is continuing, right? So as we all see that from our own experience, waterfall was the way of life previous few decades back. And then Agile started penetrating with various ways of working. As few of you mentioned a few minutes back about it is CA, it is CD and XYZ, right? Everybody has got their own ways of experiences. And your maturity will dictate what level of things you are doing at an organization. And again, context counts at the end of the day. There is no single definition on maturity. It's all depending upon how you wanted to go to speed to market, at what pace and speed, what your customer want, who are your customers, what is your technology, what is your releasability, what is your expectation, what is sense of urgency. Many things matters. It is not about if Facebook is doing 10,000 times deployment per day, it does not matter. You are not doing DevOps if you are not doing every month or every day or every hour. It is a need of who cares about it. Everybody should do their DevOps. Everybody should increase their speed to market based on your predefined quality and the customer needs. It is the myth in the industry. Going 10,000 times per day is the DevOps. No, it is not the definition. It does not make sense. It is all contextual, right? If you look at the banking sector, they don't go 10,000 deployments per day. If you go to social sites like Facebook or LinkedIn or XYZ, they will go maybe more than that. Every second is a seamless experience of deployment for them. You know what is your DevOps, what is your context, what makes sense, but the journey continues in terms of maturity. Ultimately, if you are a software company, as per me, every line of code should seamlessly go to market based on subjectivity of your context. Again, don't blindfoldedly give the statement, but the maturity is continuous, right? If you look at continuous operation, what is this means today? Earlier days, if you are looking at a new server request has to be raised, a new configuration has to be spinned off. You need to raise a SDC request. Somebody is there, your pipeline, somebody will do that, they will inform. But if you look at today, what is happening? Everything is seamless on a single command, on a single click. Now, ChatGPT is even changing the game. Artificial intelligence is changing the game. Before that, chatbots were there. Chatbots were actually creating the environments, and they can tear off, they can spin off, they can ignite, they can shut down. Everything is a line of code. Today, your infrastructure has a code. That is what we're talking about, continuous operation, which is seamless. Taking the feedback, incorporating into the your channel of the value, again, refining them, redefining them, and creating a list of prioritized features. Everything is seamless. If you look at AHA tool, it is customized to the DevOps tool stack nowadays. Even the requirements, roadmaps, everything can be directly traceable to the marketplace production systems. That is the level of continuous operations people are talking about. And within the integration, we have the continuous testing. So it's not, integration will not happen by itself, right? Your continuous testing, your continuous development goes hand in hand across the people, across the teams, and so the deployments are feasible, finally delivered to the customers. So this momentum is continuing, this maturity is continuing for a period of time. And if you look at the essence of this DevOps pyramid, again, as a leader, you need to look at it in three ways. DevOps principle. So you must understand the philosophy behind everything, the Agile manifesto, the comms approach, what we are talking about, the communication, collaboration, and continuous improvement, what I was talking about. These are the basic essence of the principles you need to keep behind the game. Then you need to also think about the practices point of view. Principles are good, but without practices, you will not go anywhere, right? So continuous build, continuous integration, continuous everything, microservices, infrastructure as a service, continuous testing, these are all should be baked into the game. If you are not doing any of these things or some of them you are not doing, you are still sub-optimizing, right? As a leader, you must promote these kind of practices if you want to understand. Or when people are talking about everything is a continuous, you must understand and you must support people by respecting those principles and practices, which are actually making these benefits are quite obvious, right? So if you look at the overall tools point of view, there is a whole bunch of tools again. Tools are actually contextual to the technology. Not every technology you can use the same tool. There are tools which will support agnostic to technology. But again, depending upon the cycle of your DevOps pipeline, all the way from requirement gathering to the deployment, there are multiple tools available, multiple vendors. Nowadays, lifecycle management, everything. There is end-to-end orchestration tools are available like Puppet Labs and beyond. Even if you look at the Jenkins was originally a version control tool and their integration tools. But nowadays, they're taking care of everything all the way from monitoring to the stability of the system because it's a competitive world and everybody started doing a lot of things together to become end-to-end orchestration of their own companies. Earlier, you need to tailor multiple tools to cater your DevOps pipeline. But that has become easy nowadays. And a lot of things are abstract to the people. Many things are taken care internally. All you need to feed the source code and rest of the things will be seamless. So these tools and techniques will be part of your automation, what we are talking the comms approach. Now, the benefits point of view, again, how many times you're deploying, what is the mean time between failures, mean time between recoveries and availability of the system, how many deployments. These are all things are going to be changing the game. Regardless of how frequently you wanted to do, you can enhance the speed to market and predefined quality. That is the ultimate goal. If somebody is taking 1 year to go to market, if they want to improve a 3 months period time, so which can reduce and then 9 months delivery, that itself is a great deal for them. If somebody wanted to go every quarter, if they're not able to go today, using these technologies and every aspect of culture to automation and everything, they might be able to reduce. So the biggest problem here is leadership need to understand what is your business, what is your context, what is DevOps means for you, how do you strategize to execute. This is your bread and butter. So leaders should not force people to do at par with Facebook or XYZ. It does not make any sense. And once you understand how are you supporting to bring these practices as per your context, it may require approvals, budget, and expectations. That's what leadership should be more careful and support what you need to do. This is what I talked about in terms of practices already in the previous slide. Everything is continuous all the way from integration to the learning. The last one, if you look at it, the continuous learning is all about because of this speed to market and the feedback faster we're getting from the market, we are learning about customer needs and we are improving. Learning in twofold, what customer is actually expecting, what is the delta between the need and the end delivery, and also what we are trying to do to achieve that value, what we should do differently. The learning from feedback, the learning also from the way we support them to deliver, the how part of the value creation. So if you have more stringent engineering maturity practices in place, you have more opportunity to learn faster because you can go faster, you can get the feedback faster, you can improve faster. If you have the engineering maturity less or the less loosely coupled DevOps, you cannot afford to dare to do the changes, and so everything will subordinate the system. So make sure that you have a good engineering maturity so that the feedback can be faster, the experimentation can be faster. This is just to give an example from GBL Labs research wing on the tools and technique. If you look at each of the color is representing one type of work in the pipeline. It could be your SCM tools or continuous integration tools or deployment tools or monitoring tools, database management, and everything else. You can see that including security and error logging file, monitoring files, like the watchdog kind of things. Each color is representing that. Maybe based on the technology, based on the need and affordability and different orchestration of the tools, again, as part of tool strategy, people use that. It is simply called as periodic table, which means what kind of DevOps pipeline looks like in each of the segment, what tools make sense for you, you can choose and do that. As I told, if you go to Puppet Labs kind of orchestrating tools, this is an abstract for you. You don't see what is inside the game. It just works for you the way you wanted to extract the information. But make sure that you understand what is possible from a tool stack point of view. When it comes to your organization, what to choose, what not to choose, again, your DevOps core team might take care of that. But as a leader, you need to support, you must understand it's a big ocean of tools. It is not about one tool or two tools. Depending upon your context, your tool strategy of the organization, you should be able to understand these things. Then this is what I was talking in the beginning also. It is all about that six blind man elephant story. If you are not believing in these things as a leader, I think it's a problem to move forward to mature on the speed to market and the predefined quality. What is this mindset story is talking about? When the elephant was a kid, it used to be tied up with a rope or a small chain, and it was not able to break at the time when baby elephant. But they have started doing this quite for some time. The elephant is growing, but still the chain or the rope is the same. But they have built some mindset culturally over a period of time. They feel like even now they cannot break that rope or chain because that's the mindset they are into quite for some time. But it can just quickly throw away, right, within a fraction of seconds. But they don't dare to do that because that's the mindset they built it. The same story happens in the year of the DevOps also. We are stuck to a kind of stagnated kind of the mindset. That's so-called fixed mindset. Or how do you really become a growth mindset leader with the servant leadership skills to understand the needs of the contemporary world in this digital disruptive world? How do you support your organization is what matters. Otherwise, if you are saying something like this and nobody can help, it is you who can change the game as a leader. So this is what I was talking about, another small video from Gene Kim's, understanding the 3 ways of DevOps thinking, what you should do as a leader in the organization kind of thing. Let's watch this quickly.
Hi, my name is Gene Kim. I'm the co-author of the book The Phoenix Project, and more recently, the co-author of the book The DevOps Handbook. I'm here today to talk about the 3 ways of DevOps. The first way is a way of flow as we go from left to right in the value stream, from dev to ops. And so that might bring the question, why dev and ops? It's because dev and ops are what's in between the organization that we serve and our customers. And the goal is always to move work as quickly as possible, through that value stream. The second way is a way of feedback. So that's the reciprocal flow of information from right to left. The goal is, how do we create enough telemetry in our systems so that whenever something goes wrong, we can quickly detect it, correct it, and ideally prevent it from ever happening again in the future. And the third way is a way of continual experimentation and learning. In other words, how do we create the conditions where we can allow risk-taking and experimentation and help our organizations win in the marketplace? And these result in things that may seem contrarian and counterintuitive, things like the famous Netflix Chaos Monkey that allowed them to survive the famous Amazon outage because they were constantly causing systems to fail in production. And by those 3 principles, describe a whole variety of architectural patterns, technical practices, and cultural norms that really explain how high performers do what they do. Thank you.
Excellent. That's what it is. Again, it is 3 ways. What he is talking about, not 3 whys, 3 ways. Systems thinking, feedback loops, continuous learning. How powerfully he told DevOps is all about. It is not about a rocket science of automation tools and tech. It is all part of the game. In principle, how do you think like a system for the common alignment and a common purpose of the organization from end-to-end orchestration? That's what system thinking is all about. It is not about a great system thinker from a requirements point of view, and also from development and testing and infrastructure and supporting in the production systems and your support customer representatives and everybody. If even one person is not working well at par with others, you are handicapped. It is not going to work. That's what end-to-end seamless is all about. I was talking. So it's all about system thinking because we're all sailing in the same boat. Either we can sink or sail, period. There is no in-between story, right? Then how do you get faster feedback? DevOps is all about feedback. The more rigid or stringent or more matured pipeline you have, the more feedback will come because you can going speed to market. Then, of course, we are learning faster from both the dimensions of customer and the organization, and we are making things improve. And this is a repetitive cycle, the 3 ways of DevOps. So as a leader, what you are going to do in general, the theory of constraint, if you heard about this concept from a book called The Goal by Goldratt, he talks about 5 beautiful steps. In any organization, the problem is all about theory of constraints. And the constraints are the things which will convert to bottlenecks for a period of time. So how do you deal with the constraints? If any organization is not getting the right results because there are some constraints, and if you ignore the constraint, they will become bottleneck. They will obstruct the rest of the game. So as a leader, how do you deal with this? This concept is called theory of constraint. It is very well explained by the Goldratt, the author, from the book called The Goal, if you had a chance to read it. First, identify the constraint. As a leader, if you want to make your organization successful, You really don't care about anything else. First, identify where is the constraint and decide how to exploit that constraint. Step number 2. Then you need to subordinate everything else to get the decision in the step number 2. Then you need to elevate the performance of the constraint so that you are able to deal with them or make advantage of the situation. In this process, if you see anywhere this constraint is moving to the other part of the pipeline, you go and deal with that by repeating the step number 1. So which means when you're dealing with the constraint as a leader in the organization, it is quite obvious that constraints take places. Don't think that if I resolve one constraint, system will be neat and clean. No. If you are doing something in a complex world, constraints are going to be there all the time, and they are going to change the places. As a leader, how are you going to deal with them from time to time is what matters. The value is created more, the systems are more complex, the more time you are taking to build the products. Obviously, the constraints also will grow. If you ignore them, it will become bottleneck, it will obstruct the complete system. So as a leader, make sure that how to identify the constraint and follow these steps to improve the overall value chain. Then this is something called Canvin network or Canvin framework. If you heard about it, as a leader, this is the most important slide, I would say. We are all dealing with the different ways of working in the organizations. And if you look at the technology, the requirements, the people, the competencies, we are all falling into one of these regions. If everything is straightforward in the life, we call obvious reason, means you have your requirements frozen, you have all the people and competency it required, you know how to build the solution, then we say that you are in a quite obvious situation or simple situation in your organization. If your requirements are not 100% frozen, you don't have all the skills required, or some skills are missing, some competencies are missing, we don't have all the right people, we don't know the complete solution, we know a little bit of that, then we say complicated situation. If you say that a lot of things are still unclear, a lot of gray areas, a lot of niche skills are missing, a lot of cross-functional people are missing, and also we don't know the solution yet, then we say complex region. Everything is not known, you are in a chaotic region. Everything is known, you are in a simple region. This is also called stasis model in the Agile framework, and all people bring the stasis models, but ideally this is coming from the Canvin from a person called Snowden from his research of the work. So if you look at some of the parameters, as a leader, you must first identify what is my region, or what is our organization region, or what is my portfolio, or what is my specific scope of work, whatever I do, where do I fall? Am I in obvious region or simple region, or am I in a chaotic region? Then obviously, how do you know that some of the aspect to figure out? For everything, there is a cause and effect relationship. I hope you all know. Cause and effect are relative and repeatable, means everything is straightforward, simple reason. If they are separated, we don't know why it is happening, what it is happening, it's a complicated reason. And if they are nowhere connected, there is a complex reason. And if we don't see any of those, it's a complex reason. I'm talking about cause and effect relationship in the organization. And of course, some of the other aspects are visible and quite self-explanatory here. And if you look at from a leadership action point of view, in a simple reason, you can sense something, you can categorize, you can respond. Or obvious reason, simple reason, same thing. If you go to complicated, you can sense, but you cannot categorize quickly. You need to analyze before you respond. If you go to complex reason, you don't sense anything from there because there is no correlation or coherent at all in the cause and effect. So you need to probe to see the situation. Then you need to sense, then you need to respond. If you connect all these words across all the 4 dynamics, you will be able to see a pattern. And in the complex, probe, sense, respond, to the chaotic, act, sense, and respond. And that unmanned or the land across those 4 at the center is called disorder. Everything is fickle in the organization, nothing is clear. And if you look at from a practices point of view, what kind of practices can help you as a leader, which you can cultivate, again, this kind of cultures. If it is a simple region, of course, the best practices will work. If it is a complicated region, good practices will work. If it is a complex region, practices has to emerge. In chaotic, it has to be a novel practice, which will not exist anywhere, right? No nirvana state, or we don't know. That is not existing at all. Sometimes people ask me, what is the best practice in complex or agile world? Basically, the complex is the region where agile works great. In complex world, there is no best practice. If there is a best practice, means it is working in any context. That's what simple reason. Unfortunately, we are not in the simple region in the agile world. Their practices has to emerge. If anybody is asking you what is the best practice in agile or complex, say there is no best practice in agile. It has to emerge based on the context. Now it is the maturity point of view here, based on how your organization is doing in terms of the communication, collaboration, integration, what I was talking about. What kind of approach on those culture and automation measurement and the lean aspects I was talking about. If you are doing something somehow, or if you are hearing those things for the first time, you are in the initial state of affairs. And if you look at the managed one, you are managing communication well, you are able to share the decision-making process. You are doing some level of automation, but siloed approach. Processes are managed, but not standardized. We are managing kind of capability. And again, if you look at all these defined, measured, and optimized, it is clearly calling out how are you institutionalizing everything? How do you become a seamless self-propelling engine in the optimized state? So again, there are multiple assessment tools are available. How your culture, automation, measurement, lean, sharing is happening. Based on that, you can decide upon, or you can figure out as a self-assessment, or in initial state or optimized state, based on the score it is going to generate. So as a leader, try to understand what is your current state of affairs, try to establish the future state of affairs, and try to bring all those camps or approach, and at least the cultural aspect and automation. If you can start doing that, you can climb one step at a time. And again, there is a nirvana state, everything contextual. You need to make this better. If DevOps is making better in your organization, definitely your so-called all the benefits fall in place. Speed to market, predefined quality, more productivity, and more satisfaction from customers and employees as well. So as a leader, you keep a tab on this from time to time on a regular frequency and try to mature the things to go to the next level. As I told, site reliability engineering, SRE is the most matured, advanced DevOps kind of thing. I would say it is an extension of the DevOps. When the engineering maturity comes, obviously, you will be able to get that availability of the systems to 99.99% kind of SLOs. So that's all pretty much. I think we have 5 more minutes to conclude the session. I would like to take a pause here, and I want to take any questions. If anybody has got anything, feel free to ask now. Yes, all yours now. Appreciate your patience and listening and contributing in the beginning. If you have any kind of questions, comments, reflections, please feel free to ask in the next few minutes.
Yeah, Kote sir, I have a question.
Yes,
Now
Raj.
this generative AI is coming into trend. So how drastically it will impact maybe tools and technologies perspective? How we should evolve to pace that speed up that pace to catch that pace.
See, basically, this, if you heard about well before this, the robotic automation, whether you take it or the kind of automation maturity you take into the pipeline, it is all because of this technology and emerging trends only. If you look at artificial intelligence in specific and the latest so-called ChatGPT's ways of thing, I don't think that ChatGPT and other stuff is going to make any difference on this DevOps maturity, but definitely the artificial intelligence can make some difference. The reason for that is it can predict the future of the pipeline based on the technology trends and the kind of tools you are using in that pipeline. It can probably configure the pipeline based on certain kind of tailoring needs. For example, you are doing a way of DevOps at this point in time, and you are coming from a banking industry per se, or medical or healthcare industry kind of thing. How industry is doing, who are the matured organization, how is their pipeline looks like, what is your pipeline, what is the nature of your business and connectivity. There are lots and lots of research available, and this artificial intelligence can bring some kind of insightful thinking. Probably it can automate things for you by picking the right tools and techniques kind of thing, or it can throw you some forecasting information which you can act upon depending upon the nature of the context of the releasability and customers and the sensitivity of the information. I definitely see that the struggle, what you could do otherwise in a more manual research ways, this artificial intelligence based on the historical patterns and trends from the similar industry you can definitely see to enhance the maturity of DevOps. There is no question about it. And obviously, the more maturity on that aspect can lead to the site reliability engineering, which is the next big thing happening in industry, especially in the sensitive data information point of view, or the banking or other systems where it requires almost 100% availability. There also it can play some role. If you look back from infrastructure as a service, as I was talking about, earlier days, it was taking a whole bunch of time to spin off a server, to shut down, to restart, to reboot, configuration. Now what is happening? Everything is seamless on a single click of the things. How many hour configuration you want, you can spin off, you can copy, you can create images and all. In future, it can be also simplified further. And there is no more service request based, right? Everything is on a simple command in our chatbots kind of mechanics. It is happening quite for some time. Because of the newest trends happening here, maybe some more things can be abstracted. It can fast track the process of the pipeline automation. That's what I would see the impact of this.
Yeah. Thank you. So, yeah, I agree.
No problem. Any other questions, anybody? We have 2 more minutes. If you have any questions by chance. People are behind the camera and also everybody is muted. It looks like you are happy or not happy, or you are doing multitasking. The biggest thing I would say in the Agile world is we are all preaching face-to-face communication. And it was badly used before COVID, saying that co-location face-to-face comes only from going and sitting in the same room, traveling across the globe. People looted, I would say, more than minted money across the globe to make people co-located. But Agile Manifesto never said face-to-face communication means you need to sit together. Thanks to COVID, it has made entire world realize the importance of face-to-face communication. So I always try to help people in this remote world, in mostly dispersed world, where no two people are sitting at this point in time. Please be on camera as much as possible. You will wonder by the results, whatever you are going to do. Whether you are working in the organization, you are listening to this kind of sessions, you are going to do something else. Face-to-face means by enabling the camera, so-called using technology, it will change the game. If you ask me, that is what one advice as a key takeaway from this DevOps to make it seamless. What is DevOps? It is all about communication, collaboration, integration. How do you do all of these things in this session? By connecting everybody together. So if you can understand this small secret sauce, nobody can stop from success. So I try to make people motivate in this way about this face-to-face communication, and also make people realize to help their own organizations. I hope you all understand. Don't get me wrong on this message. Try to do that as much as possible. Results are quite obviously successful than what you're thinking about. Otherwise, we try to do multitasking. We are all human beings, right? We tend to do multitasking. Focus is missing. Quality go for a task. Nobody cares what you are doing. So with that, I would like to conclude. It's just on time. Thank you so much for your valuable time this evening, wherever you are. Take care and stay safe, and definitely we'll connect on another episode on new and emerging trends in the Agile and DevOps space. Thank you so much for joining here us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Koti.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, hang.
Thank
Oh
you.
no.
Thank you.
Oh no.
You have any questions? Then okay, good. So let's give a second, couple of seconds, if anybody is still hanging around. Okay, I think looks like most of them are dropped. We can stop recording now and any other live services. Okay, good. Thank you, team. Then, so appreciate your support as always. Then take care. We'll catch up again later. Then, thank you so much. Bye.